There's a quiet struggle happening in millions of lives right now, and almost nobody talks about it. You have a job, it pays, the bills get covered. From the outside, everything looks fine. But somewhere deep inside, something has gone completely silent. Not loud, not dramatic, just empty. Like you're going through the motions of a life that doesn't quite feel like yours anymore. And the reason this is happening has almost nothing to do with your job, and everything to do with what God is quietly trying to realign inside of you. What you're about to hear might shift the way you approach your faith and your future. You're carrying questions nobody hears. You wonder why you feel so heavy after a long week, not because you lack faith, but because the work that fills your hours doesn't seem to touch the part of you that actually matters. You pray, you show up, you provide, but something inside keeps asking the same question over and over. Is this really it? Culture taught us speed. God teaches depth. And right now, millions of people are living in the gap between those two things, functioning, surviving, paying the bills, but losing something they can't quite name. That something is their soul. And the exhaustion they feel runs much deeper than tiredness. What if your exhaustion is not weakness, but a warning? Think about that for a moment. Because most people hear the word exhaustion and assume it means they need a vacation. They need to sleep more. They need to push harder. But what if it means something completely different? What if the soul fatigue you're carrying right now isn't about how hard you're working? What if it's about where you're working from? Here's what productivity culture never tells you. It tells you that if you're tired, you're not disciplined enough. It tells you that rest is laziness dressed up in comfortable clothes. It tells you that your worth is directly connected to what you produce. And over time, you start to believe it. Work becomes your identity. And when work becomes identity, rest feels like failure. And Scripture actually warns us about this exact moment, long before productivity culture ever existed. But here's what's happening underneath all of that noise. You're not ungrateful, you're misaligned. And the answer to why lies in a moment in Scripture that explains this better than most sermons ever could. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verses 22 and 23, there's a question that cuts right through everything we just talked about. The writer asks, "What does a man gain from all his labor, from all his toil under the sun?" And then it continues, "His days are full of pain, and his work is grief. Even at night his mind does not rest." Now here's what makes this passage so powerful. This wasn't written for someone who was failing. This was written for someone who had already succeeded. The writer, traditionally understood to be one of the wisest kings in history, had wealth, influence, knowledge, and achievement. And still, he arrived at this exact place. A place of quiet emptiness. A place where the labor felt meaningless, even though the results were right there in front of him. So many people are living in that same place today. Not in failure, in stability. And stability, when it becomes spiritual numbness, is one of the most dangerous places a person can stand, because it's comfortable enough to stay in, but it's hollow enough to drain everything that truly matters. God may sustain you financially while confronting you spiritually. And this same pattern shows up again, not in philosophy, but in survival. And that's exactly what happened next in Scripture. Not in Ecclesiastes, but in a completely different story that carries the same quiet truth. In the book of Exodus, chapter 16, God provides manna in the wilderness, and on the surface, it looks like a simple story about provision. God feeds his people. They're hungry. He gives them food. But the deeper layer of this story is almost never explored. You see, the manna couldn't be stored. It couldn't be accumulated. If you tried to keep it overnight, it would spoil. And the people who worked hardest to gather more than they needed, they weren't praised for their diligence. They were confronted, because their anxiety about tomorrow was revealing something God needed them to see. Provision is not the same as permission. God was not punishing them for wanting security. He was teaching them where their real security was supposed to come from. And here's the bridge to your life right now. When you find yourself working longer hours, pushing harder, gathering more, not out of genuine purpose, but out of a deep, silent fear that if you stop, everything falls apart. That's not discipline. That's modern anxiety wearing the mask of productivity culture. And God sees it. He doesn't condemn you for it, but He uses it. He uses that exhaustion to expose exactly where your trust is anchored. And when that trust isn't where it's supposed to be, the work starts to drain you in ways that rest alone can never fix. That is work burnout at its spiritual root, not a scheduling problem, a dependency problem. And this is where it stops being about a concept and becomes about a real person. Because there was a man in Scripture who carried exactly this weight, not because he lacked faith, but because he had given everything and had nothing left. His name was Elijah. And in 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 4 through 8, we find him in one of the most raw, honest moments in the entire Bible. He had just come off one of the greatest spiritual victories ever recorded, and yet he found himself completely and utterly exhausted. He didn't pray for answers. He didn't ask for direction. He was so exhausted that he could no longer see a way forward, because the weight of what he carried had become too heavy to bear. And do you know what God did? He didn't correct him. He didn't lecture him. He didn't remind him of everything he had accomplished. God gave him rest. He gave him food. He gave him silence. And then, gently, quietly, he spoke. Not every crisis is a spiritual failure. Some are simply human. And Elijah's story teaches us something that productivity culture will never admit, that spiritual exhaustion is real. It's not a sign of weak faith, and it is often a signal that something in the way you're living needs to shift. Not necessarily your job, not necessarily your circumstances, but something deeper. Something about the way you're carrying your identity. What if God is not asking you to quit, but to listen? Because here is the final piece of this. In the Gospel of Luke chapter 10, verses 41 and 42, Jesus speaks to a woman named Martha. Martha was working, she was preparing, she was doing everything right by the standards of her culture. Hospitality was honor, and she was doing it alone. Her sister Mary was sitting at Jesus' feet, simply listening, and Martha was frustrated. She asked Jesus to tell Mary to help her, and Jesus responded with something that didn't condemn Martha's work. He simply said her name twice and told her that only one thing was truly needed. Jesus didn't say work was wrong. He said that when work steals the presence that matters most, it becomes a misaligned calling. Not because the work itself is bad, but because it has quietly replaced the one thing that was supposed to come first. And that is exactly what's happening when your job pays the bills, but drains your spirit. The work isn't the enemy. The silence, your silent frustration, is the signal. And divine redirection doesn't always look like a dramatic change. Sometimes it looks like finally noticing what your exhaustion has been trying to tell you all along. So here's what this looks like in your life, practically. Start by asking yourself one simple question each morning. Not what do I need to accomplish today, but what is this season actually asking of me? When you feel the pull to push harder, pause. Notice whether you're moving from purpose or from fear. Practice one moment of stillness each day, not as a reward for finishing, but as a necessity. Notice what you feel when you stop. If it's panic, that's information. If it's emptiness, that's information too. And don't make the mistake of thinking that identity beyond work is something you earn after you succeed. It's something you remember before you begin. This season isn't punishment, it's positioning. You are not in this place because God forgot about you. You're here because He's doing something that can't happen while you're running. He's not trying to take your work from you. He's trying to give you back something work alone can never provide, a sense of meaning that doesn't collapse when the day ends, a peace that doesn't depend on productivity, an identity that exists even when you're standing still. If you came into this video feeling confused, tired, or quietly questioning your direction, this is the clarity you were looking for. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're not ungrateful. You are being quietly, carefully led toward something deeper than survival. If this message spoke to your heart, type, "I am more than what I do" in the comments as a declaration of faith. If this helped you, the next video, Why God Feels Silent About Your Money and Your Purpose, will take you one step deeper into this. Keep going, keep trusting. God is working, even when you can't see it. God bless you.